If you have traveled by plane sitting by the window where you can see the engine, you may have wondered what these fins on the engine are and what they are for. They are called nozzle strikes or nozzle chains. The effect of the strikes is huge. It minimizes the possibility of stalling and reduces the takeoff and landing distance by up to 6%, which is a lot. But how does it work? What is stall speed? And can you see this effect with the naked eye? That's what we're going to see in this new video from Aviation World. Practically all modern commercial jets have this system, some on one side, others on both sides of the engine nacelle, like the McDonnell Douglas MD-11 and the C-17 Cloudmaster III, and in more recent models like the Airbus A320neo and the Airbus A3500-10000. It's a relatively new patent. It was developed in 1970 and its purpose is to improve the aerodynamics of the commercial jet wing by generating a vortex. After several wind tunnel tests with a DC-10, it was found that there was a significant loss of lift when using the flaps in conjunction with the slats in the landing configuration. As a result, the stall speed was higher, around about 5 knots. The loss of lift began in the engine nacelles or gondolas, which in English would be nasal. Right behind these and in front of the inner ailerons, this loss began. To better visualize the problem of these areas of the pylon engine assembly, aerodynamic flow monitoring techniques were used, which is nothing more than injecting colored smoke to see the airflow in a wind tunnel. And it was discovered that indeed this assembly produced air turbulence that destroyed the normal flow in front of the wing's leading edge. These turbulences were accentuated by the fact that in the areas where the engines are mounted, the pylons from which the engine hangs, there are no slats or leading edge surfaces. The solution was developed by National Aeronautics and Space Administration by the AIMS Research Center, where they installed the fins called strikes and placed them on the engine gondolas at 45 degrees to the horizontal. The fins were further refined in later flight tests, but initially they already showed a significant improvement. What was achieved was to generate vortices large enough to help the boundary layer remain attached to the wing surface. Thank you. But to learn more deeply how nozzle strikes work, we are going to have to understand this graph. What we see here is the lift coefficient relative to the angle of attack. This is not simply the angle of the plane relative to the ground, it's a bit more complex than that. The angle relative to the horizon is called the pitch angle in English. If this aircraft is ascending, it would be in a positive pitch attitude. These concepts are explained in the linked video about an aircraft's axis. If you didn't fully grasp what we discussed, I recommend watching this short but illustrative video. Links are provided below and in the cards above. But this is not the angle at which planes take off. If you've watched one take off, you'll notice that its pitch angle is large, but they don't ascend where the nose of the plane is pointing, which gives a feeling of dragging through the air. So the actual trajectory of an aircraft is the flyback angle, which could be translated into English as flight path. It's also seen in landing, where it has a positive tilt attitude, but it's actually descending. If we drag the trajectory angle with the pitch, we have the angle of attack. And this is the one we see on the x-axis of the graph. And on the other axis, we see the lift coefficient. And what the graph shows us is that the larger the angle of attack, the greater the lift. But up to a certain point where the aircraft would stall. In this video, we can see an example of a stall. Once the angle of attack is very large, the airflow separates from the extrados or top of the wing, becoming turbulent, dramatically reducing lift and causing the plane to stall. Loss of lift. And what does this have to do with nuzzle strikes? Well, when an aircraft takes off or lands, its wings need to have enough lift at low speeds since it's flying at a higher angle of attack. It's during this phase of flight that flaps and slats are used to create more lift because the speed is slower. But flaps or slats are less efficient if the airflow separates from the wing surface. Most commercial jets have their engines installed under the wing. The shape of the engine creates an unwanted separation of the airflow on the top of the wing by increasing the angle of attack. The engine's nacelle or pod makes the air behind it turbulent, and it is less likely to have a laminar flow over the wing. So to counteract this, engineers created the nozzle strikes, which help maintain laminar flow and prevent lift loss due to boundary layer detachment. The vortices pass over the wing, the extra two, forcing the boundary layer to continue sticking. The vortices that are generated are counter-rotating, and in addition to helping the boundary layer, they create a downward airflow due to the downwash effect over the wing area that does not carry slats, thus reducing the possibility of stalling. And this phenomenon is seen in this video because if the temperature is low and the humidity is high, you can perfectly see the vortex generated by the nozzle strikes, due to the same phenomenon that I had already explained in the sound barrier video. We can recall an experiment we did that time where we visualized how the ambient water condenses to become visible. The humidity in the air condenses, that is, water in a gaseous state becomes liquid in small droplets due to the temperature drop. To illustrate this, I'd like to do this fascinating experiment. We are going to generate this phenomenon at home. I have here a plastic bottle that I connect with a cork to this inflator. The idea is to generate pressure inside the bottle. This is loaded with ambient air, and now if I quickly remove the cork, I will lower the pressure quickly, thus lowering its temperature suddenly. Then the tiny air droplets that are present there inside will condense, forming the fog that forms in airplanes. This is the same thing we see forming on airplanes. Water. Condensed. Condensed water. I hope you liked this explanation that I didn't find much in Spanish, so I wanted to do it. Thanks to all those who like and share this video. Many thanks also to Manuel Represa, since a good part of the script of this video is based on his book Questions. You have always wanted to know about aeronautics, a series of books that I highly recommend. I leave the links below for you to go see. Until a new delivery of World of Aviation.